We are really at a crossroads here when it comes to what is the world going to do in response to how Donald Trump handles business. Now, when it comes to allies, this is a major concern because Trump has said we're no longer going to be the world's piggy bank and we're not just going to get ran over. Well, the United States remains the world's second biggest exporter after China, but there's areas here where we can see they are taking big defeats. And it raises the question, how long will this go on? Then it raises the questions, if this continues to go on, what will happen with allies? And does the world need America as much as it used to? We'll start off here with this Huawei incident. And some of these things could come back to haunt some of the allies that just are going full steam ahead and not listening to some of the warning signs here. Whether they may be full of smoke or hot air or not, one here with Huawei is the fact that Washington tried to scare other Western countries into dropping this Chinese telecom giant from supplying 5G network equipment to their countries, like Germany and the UK. They both said, to heck with it, we're not listening to you, and therefore they went ahead and advanced in this area. We then have the area of where the whole EU is basically coming together in battling some of these tech giants, similar to what they did against Microsoft in the 1990s. But they're going after areas and trying to regulate things like Facebook, Twitter's content monitoring, Amazon's tax practices, all these things, as they've also levied a record $5 billion fine on these American companies. And they go on to say that it doesn't matter what anyone else says, that these American companies have tarnished their names themselves. And stuff like this here may shock some, but apparently, in terms of having Uber and Airbnb out there working, this is not coinciding with the labor laws in many of these other countries. And as you can see here, they're ousting them. This is coming down to a city-by-city, sometimes a street-by-street battle on if Uber can even operate in these areas. And they even mention Airbnb in this as well, as Airbnb is struggling with pushback in many of the world's most popular destinations, including Paris, Barcelona, Los Angeles, and Japan. Germany has been putting itself in the middle of all these issues and really pulling away from America constantly. They're doing this in so many different fields. They even said militarily that France and Germany should build their own military outside of NATO and that they don't need the United States no more. Now, Germany, which was involved heavily in World War II, fighting against who? Russia. Now they're buddying up. And Trump has been warning them to back off this Nord Stream 2. And Trump has put all of his chips into this liquefied natural gas, becoming the world's top fuel by the end of the next decade. So don't forget that. And this costs a lot of money for the infrastructure, heavy investment in all of this. And that's where he's put his chips for all of us, so the folks know. And then we come down to the money spent on the military equipment. This is an issue that Trump had brought up himself after lobbying to get all this money for military weapons. He starts talking about using the money elsewhere. Now, the United States has been able to rely on the money generated from selling these weapons to its allies for a long time. But as we've seen with Turkey, as we've seen with India here recently, both have shifted away from buying U.S. weaponry that they were supposed to be buying, and they both bought Russian equipment. What happens if Saudi Arabia does the same? Lots of questions out there being thrown around in this instance, but these are just a handful of the areas in which the United States is taking hits and losses. And something needs to change and get turned around in these sectors, or we're going to have to start to see major improvements in other areas to make up for losses in these sectors. But as of right now, this is where these things sit. I wanted to point it out. I'm going to leave a link here with more details you can read up on. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well. This has been Dabu7. Much love, y'all.